It's Hollie's Hotspurs, welcome back. Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero in the back. Heung-min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe with us. Special guests every time here to discuss. Bring your passion, come along for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe, cause...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie's Hotspurs Live, which is a good one because tonight, obviously, it's a Wednesday. Normally, this is a Monday show, but I'm also joined by the amazing Michael Bridge. Michael, how are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Loving life at the minute as a Spurs fan, which I'm sure you are as well.
Giving it away, No, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's just wonderful to see. It's great to see the fans post-match in the stadiums, on social media, so happy. So yeah, long may it continue.
100%. It's definitely a vibe FC, as I like to call it at the moment, which is a totally different contrast from last season. So may it continue, like you said. Let's dive straight into it. And let's talk about what you make of Ange at the moment. What's your your feelings around the guy at the moment?
Well, I was told by someone who was Celtic home and away very early June. I was away in the Channel Islands, Jersey, and he said to me, "You don't know what you lot have got." I went, "Oh, really?" He went, "Honestly, you just don't know. I've never been so devastated of losing a manager. Brendan Rodgers, Martin O'Neill, forget it. This is going to take me a long time to get over. Let me explain to you. We're at a party, and I love a party, but I was in the corner with him for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, listening to everything he was telling me. Now, with my job, I like Scottish football anyway, Rangers and Celtic buzz, and I was so intrigued to hear everything about him. And then I was down to do his first press conference. A colleague of mine based in Scotland wanted to phone me, said, "Look, I know you've got Ange tomorrow. Just want to give you a few bits of things that I've picked up in the 2 years I've worked with him as a Celtic manager." And everything he said was just bang on. Don't force banter, because he's a very entertaining man himself. He's very entertaining. He's very interesting. He speaks so well. He's respectful of everyone. Just everything about him. It's just the absolute perfect match. So I was very excited from an early stage. It was a really bad pre-season. Nothing to do with him, of course, but in terms of, I think, where they went, the cancelled game, the distance, maybe they might look at maybe next year. And then to just start with those levels, just everything has just been so good. He's a joy to have. You get every rival supporter saying, "I hate Spurs, but I love Ange." And Celtic fans, look, they have a point. I've seen the comments they've made. We told everyone about this. We've said this about him for 2 years, but it's only being picked up now by more of the British media because he's down here, which is fair enough from their point of view. And Tottenham fans, when we love someone, we really love someone. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean by that? We really take someone on if we find the person endearing. And I just hope it's only the start, because I just think he's a very, very special person.
He really is. And I think the thing is, for me, last season, I felt very disconnected, but it's like he's just come in and absolutely managed to turn us all around and love the club that I think we've all kind of got that little bit of disconnect from. And I know you mentioned, obviously, you've managed to speak to him quite a few times in press conferences and stuff. What's the one big giveaway? I know you've mentioned the banter he has and stuff, but what for you is that thing that you really have that connection with, if that makes sense?
I think so. The first press conference was 57 minutes and it felt like 10. And that is because I'm enjoying it so much. He's engaging. I like listening to everything about him. We just have to listen. And there's a story. Even when I asked him about Richarlison struggling mentally, he said, he went, "There's everyone in here has got something going on in their lives and we don't know about it." And it's just like, that's a manager, and I've been in press conferences before and I'm thinking, when's this going to end? And he wants to be there. And, we've had some very high profile managers before, and, we'd probably maybe one or two felt they were doing us a favor. this guy has come here and he's got a quite a different sort of background and track record, but he's won things. You're no idiot if you go to Japan, another country, but another culture, another language, another alphabet, and to be so successful there, you must be something special. Remembering the time when I remember when Arsene Wenger joined Arsenal, who's this guy? Well, he's won a lot in Japan. So what? It's the ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
So without being negative, obviously a lot of people have been proved wrong. And now it's just a positive. It's just everything about him has been great. And maybe the first time you heard Monday night that he wasn't really happy with the second half performance. But what Spurs fans I'm sure would love to hear is, he said, look, this is just the start. There's more to come. I'm not happy with that. We can do better at this. So, it's been great, and I feel very privileged to be able to speak to him and many other journalists who get that opportunity as well.
No, that's amazing. And like I say, to have your point of view as well. Obviously, not all of us are able to be in the room, but to see what you're saying and things, I think it all kind of resonates with us as fans. And I think that's the thing, like you said, it's almost like you can talk to him like he's one of us, if that makes sense, which I think is a really nice thing to have, especially when we've had these kind of cryptic managers beforehand in press conferences. But obviously, moving a little bit away from Ange, I want to talk about obviously the performances on the pitch. I know that is to do with him as well. But for you, who would you say is your standout performer so far this season?
Well, when you're top of the league, it's because of the team. But saying that, Hollie, I think it's got to be James Maddison. He's the signing of the summer. I spoke to Jamie Carragher Monday, and he said the same thing. It's just joy to watch him, and I think I just feel like he's been at Tottenham for 7-8 years. And also, we talk about the way people are and they act. He's a credit to this football club. He's a good person. He's a good personality. He's not robotic in the sense of players just not saying anything. Tough place to go, 3 points. He's genuinely got a good personality. I raised my eyebrows when Ange gave him the vice captaincy. And what a decision. What a brilliant decision. What a brilliant decision was to give it to Romero. So I'd say James Maddison, his goal contributions, assists, and, we know we've been crying out for a creative midfielder since Eriksen left. I used to bore people to tears about it on social media, but it was so blindingly obvious. And what a player we've got now. And as I say, if you look at the way it was two deals done separately, but ultimately Winks for 10. So ultimately Spurs really only paid about 30 for Maddison. When you look at what Arsenal paid for Kai Havertz, what United paid for Mason Mount, it's just unbelievable business. But it's a big if, because we know he's had maybe the odd niggle as injuries at Leicester. If Spurs can keep him fit through the season, then that's brilliant for Spurs. And I know Spurs are a team who should be in Europe every season. They've been in Europe for 13 years in a row. But I firmly believe this is a year where it does no harm for this club to be out of Europe for one season.
I think
and that helps the likes of Maddison and Son.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think obviously we've seen with the likes of them lot down the road that having that kind of season out to regroup, re-get yourself together has done wonders for them, as much as I hate to say it. But hopefully this is our season to do so. But obviously we've spoken about Maddison. I think Maddison's everybody's player of the season so far. But is there anybody else that you kind of think's gone a little bit under the radar? I know you said it's like a team game, this, that and the other. But is there someone else that you're thinking, he hasn't had much praise that he necessarily should have?
Well, I think, we just have to look at the signings. Spurs have been rightly criticised for poor recruitment in the past. Let's give them credit for excellent recruitment now. You've got the goalkeeper. Many would say at the start, have they gone for the cheap option because Brentford were asking silly money for David Raya? Well, Vicario, I didn't know much about him, Hollie. Whenever you do any transfers, you can't know everything about everyone. I can't watch every game in Europe, so I knew very little about Vicario. Colleague of mine in Italy, I messaged him. He said, Michael, really good, really, really good. Special, going to be special. Maybe, tough to come straight into a team like Empoli into Tottenham, but we'll see how he does. He's just been incredible.
He has.
Maybe that. So we can all agree Udogie and Van der Ven have been brilliant signings. So if I put them together, maybe let's look at the players who were there already. I think Kulusevski worked incredibly hard. Pedro Porro's proved many people wrong in terms of how well he can play in that position. And Christian Romero, maybe stopping doing the silly things we know he can do. and he's not been doing that at the moment. He was probably unfortunate with the penalty at Arsenal. So I'd probably go for Romero or Porro, really. But yeah, it's just the signings. They've just been so good. You know, that three of Vicario, then you've got Van der Ven and Udogie. I mean, they feel like they've been there 10 years. I mean, Mickey Van der Ven's pace. I mean, you know, and I love, again, credit to Postecoglou. Just put him straight in. He had 2 days training. Now, previous managers, and there's nothing wrong with that, would probably like keep the new signings on the bench for a few weeks. No, straight in. And it's probably done them the world of good. So I haven't got an answer for it because they're top. It's just there's just so many positives at the moment. You know, they're all playing ever so well. They really are. You know, Sarr plays like a 29-year-old. You know, way above their years. So yeah, long may it continue for all of them. My only concern, I think, Hollie, at the moment is there a slight drop when maybe they make 2 or 3 subs. That's where I want to see a little bit of an improvement. But that's not me moaning at all. I think Ange might have acknowledged that as well in terms of the second half performance. Then we've got Bentancur to come back. So that's a positive. So, I mean, ultimately, it's just keeping players fit. You know, if we can keep the players fit, I'm going to be really positive about this team and the manager. It's just the feel-good factor at the moment. So, yeah, long may it continue.
Definitely. And I think that's the thing is, I don't want to say it feels alien, but for me, I don't think I've seen this much success so early on as a Spurs fan. And it is nice to have, but you've always got that dreaded worry in the back of your head. I think that's just the Spurs way. But it's nice to having this new kind of Spurs, and I like it under Ange. And I'm glad you've mentioned, obviously, getting a bit worried necessarily with that drop-off in performance in terms of players that come in. For you, in January, have you got necessarily a wish list or a couple of players in mind that you'd like to see come in?
I think with January, there's a lot of ifs and buts because of maybe 1 or 2 who might be on the way out. I think Tottenham will look to bring in a central defender quite early in January. I think there's an acknowledgement there that they are taking a risk. Davinson Sanchez obviously moved to Galatasaray, was decent money, but the idea was to get him replaced, and they didn't do that in the end. Spurs maybe will look for maybe another homegrown player. I know they like Lloyd Kelly of Bournemouth. I don't think that's massively changed as of yet. Of course, we've got the Asian Cup for Sonny. We've got the African Cup of Nations to come in as well. But this is a very organised Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. You know, at top to bottom, there would have already been discussions about January, ideas about January. You know, there was a couple of targets on deadline day that didn't completely come off. Of course, they've brought Brendan Johnson in. I think that some of this will depend as well on the fitness of Bentancur. I think we need to remember it's such a horrendous injury. So I know he's back in full training, but they will have to be careful with him as the weeks go on. Pape Sarr, Skip, will Højbjerg stay? He will have interest again in January. So it's a bit of a wait and see at the moment. I mean, I'm just hoping, like all Tottenham fans, that if they are in this position, and when I say this position, you know, around the top positions in the Premier League, to really make a statement, because it is a lightish squad. I actually think Spurs are going to miss Perisic. I think he was really good when he came on. He's fantastic from a corner, dead balls, and so I think Spurs will look to bring in a couple in January. They have to, and you know, they'll know they've got such an opportunity here, and at the very least, for me, fighting for a Champions League place. And let's be honest, who would have thought that at the start of the season? Who would have thought that? You know, we were told constantly it's going to be mid-table now without Harry, or the good times were over without Harry. And I kind of understood that to an extent. But then at the end of the day, they've got this manager at the moment, and things are just going so well.
And that's I think it is, like you said, it's so crazy to think when Ange came as potentially going out the door, has gone out the door. And like you said, he's just managed to still hit the ground running with this team. It is incredible. And obviously, because we're talking about transfers, Michael, I just kind of wanted to get your insight of what it's like working in football during that time. How does things kind of operate for you?
Well, I mean, I have to be honest with you, I'm busier now in June than I am now, which is crazy because the football season started. But our transfer shows start in July. June, the transfers, like some of the biggest deals, really, the murmuring started in June. So I didn't really stop. The whole of June. July was unbelievable as well, and that makes transfer deadline day not what it was in the past, because clubs are more savvy now. So it's an incredibly busy time. There's no I'd get a text at 6 a.m. I'd get a text at midnight. You'd wake up to a text, and then working and liaising with clubs about what's right, what's wrong, what's accurate, what's not accurate, when you can go with a story, when a story's been shut down. So it's incredibly busy, but that's a job, and I'm very privileged to be doing it. Like I say to a lot of people when I talk about it on the streets or at games, it's not about being first, it's about being right. And certain journalists have a responsibility to work closer with football clubs than maybe individual journalists who can put things out earlier. So, and of course, the landscape on social media has changed as well. So you're not necessarily turning into Sky to get news first, but you might turn in to get more of a reaction or an interview from the certain player. So yeah, it's incredibly busy, but it is fun. It is fun, of course. And obviously this summer was a difficult one for me as well because of Harry Kane. And of course, I have to say, when the news came through that Spurs had accepted a bid, my heart, I was on a train. I was like, I was hungry and I lost my hunger. And it was just because I have to be honest, I have to hold my hand up and say, I thought he would stay for this season. So that was a saga. So when that finally finished, I was concerned about the team I supported, of course. But yeah, it was non-stop. But that's what we like, and I know transfers are fun for everyone. So yeah, it's definitely busier then than it is for me now.
So what do you kind of do within this kind of period? Are you interviewing managers and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So today I was on air 10 till 12 on the football show. I'm back on there tomorrow. Then I'll be in the afternoon planning for the next few weeks, interviews, sit-down interviews, Christmas specials. And then Friday, I'm live from Selhurst Park at 3 up until kickoff. And then after full-time, post-match interviews with the managers in the press conference. And then in a place called the Mix Zone, where you try and get to speak to players before they go back on the coaches. They don't have any obligation to speak to any of us, but sometimes we can get a player to grab a quick word. And that's when you see sometimes newspapers on Spurs journos will get an interview with some of the players, which will be set for a certain time to run. I will be in that huddle. So sometimes we get a player reaction. So hopefully if we've won Friday, I'll be able to get a player or two and speak about the game. So yeah.
No, that's amazing. Like I say, I never really understood the whole concept of how journalism and that etc. works. So it's really insightful. So thank you, Michael. I kind of obviously leading on to that game on Friday. I just want to kind of get your kind of little prediction for it, if that makes sense. What are you kind of? I know we're hoping for a win, but how do you think it's going to go down?
I mean, Palace are a hard side to judge. They really are, and they're coming off the back of a really bad defeat at Newcastle. That's probably one of the biggest home bankers of the weekend. They've got a lot of injuries. I know every club has injuries, but they really do have a lot. I hear maybe one or two might be back on the bench for them for Friday, but obviously they'll be lacking match fitness. Then you'll be people saying, well, it's a great atmosphere at Selhurst in midweek. Yes, but I think Spurs won their 4-0 there last season. I'd be very disappointed if we lost. I think that would make us lose momentum. You'll obviously get people sort of saying, "Oh, there we go," blah blah blah. So I think avoiding defeat is probably my defeatist way of looking at it. But a win would really start to send some signals, and what a dream week it would be after playing Monday as well. Because obviously there might be a few weary legs there because of the way Spurs are playing under Postecoglou. So we'll wait and see the team news. We'll see if the doggy's okay. I think he went off because he was just jaded. So I think he should be okay. Obviously, he's got a decision to make as well on whether he brings back, Bissouma in for Højbjerg. That's a decision. Brennan Johnson or Kulusevski. But let's go for the win. Things are good at the moment. So, if they can win, what a few weeks it's been. What a couple of months it's been. And who knows? If they win on Friday, Postecoglou will be up for manager of the month again. He has to be. Unbelievable.
It is crazy. It is mad. Honestly, it's it does feel slightly alien to me, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless. I'm going to keep riding it while it continues. And obviously, like you say, it puts in good stead to obviously bring back Pochettino. So how are you kind of feeling, obviously, when we play Chelsea after that Palace game, when he does obviously come back in the field of Tottenham in terms of playing against us?
Well, I mean, I think this probably divides so many fans, doesn't it? I mean, I think the thing is, every fan's got their right to express their feelings. If it's maybe a slight boo when he comes out onto the touchline, or just sing Spurs songs, sing for Postecoglou, get behind the team. I think that's what I would suggest. That's what I would do if I was in the stands. Just make it about the current situation. I think with Maurizio, I don't think he was ever going to come back. I don't think it was ever on the agenda. I know the fans were singing his name in March and April, but it was never seemed to be happening. So he has to move on. Now some fans will say, well, you never joined Chelsea, maybe. As a fan, I'm not bothered. No. I don't know why anyone should be bothered anymore. It's the past, it's done. And look to the future now, with such a wonderful guy and a wonderful manager in charge of Tottenham. So if anyone asks me what should I do Monday week, I'd say get behind the team. Like Paul Quint says, get behind the team, up the Spurs.
That's
what I'd do.
I think that is probably the best way to go about it. Like you said, some people obviously feel differently towards Poch, but like you said, we're in a new era at the moment, and it's a nice era. So I'll let that continue and get behind Postecoglou and the boys. Before I let you go, though, Michael, I do want to ask, what's your kind of ambition for the rest of the season? I know we're still quite early on, and we are still riding high. But is there potentially? I know we're out of one cup, but would you like to see another cup come to the lane? And do you think that Ange will kind of tend to put some more eggs in that basket when that cup game does come around?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Fulham game in the away end, and I mean, leading up to the game, I've never known demand for tickets so much. Honestly, it was like Willy Wonka. I mean, like golden ticket. I mean, this is the second round of the Carabao Cup. I mean, and it felt like a bit of a missed opportunity. Now, Ange said post-match after that game, I have to test the squad. I have to see what I've got. I understood that to an extent, but I think maybe deep down he probably thought he had made maybe 2 or 3 too many changes. Because I know you yourself and so many fans miss the amount of games, and I think Spurs can handle an FA Cup. They can handle that, of course, and it's embarrassing that Spurs have not won the FA Cup since 1991. So I think Ange will approach that differently. I think they will take it very seriously. I do feel like the Carabao Cup is a bit of a missed opportunity, but hey, that's the one blemish on what's been such a fantastic first few months. So I can definitely move on from that. But in terms of a good season, look, I think a top four finish is a fantastic first season for a club that lost Harry Kane 2 days before the start of the Premier League season. I didn't have Tottenham anywhere near the top 4 at the start of the season, and now they are well in the race. If they can do anything more, let's wait and see. I think I think with clubs being in Europe I think looking at the tables at the moment, I think United might qualify from their group. If they don't, they'll come third, which would be Europa League probably. So they'll be in Europe in the start of next year. I think Newcastle will be in Europe at the start of next year. So all these teams we're up against, they will have more games than us next year, and that will take its toll. And Tottenham have to take advantage of that. So if Tottenham can maybe bring a couple in January, keep the key players fit, all ifs and buts. There's so much to go this season, but let's aim for a top 4 finish and really give the FA Cup a go.
100%. I would love a cup. And like you say, I think the way we started as well, if we can carry on that momentum, there's no reason why we couldn't necessarily finish in top 4. I was the same. I never put us anywhere near top 4, especially like I said, having the news of Harry Kane going. But it seems to at the moment be working with Sonny through the ball. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and also look, it's as Ange again, like he said, another fantastic thing the other day. Who am I to stop any supporter dreaming or knocking their ambitions down, and that's wonderful. So that's just my opinion, Hollie. I mean, someone could be saying in the comments now or watching this later saying, no, let's go for it. Leicester did it one year. I'm not stopping anyone doing that. I'm late 30s now. I'm a glass half empty kind of guy when it comes to Tottenham at the moment. but the way this manager is, I've not been more positive. You know, you just look at the stadium. You know, they're chucking people out at the end of the day because they just want to stay. You know, it's full time, it's full house at the end of the games. And yes, it helps because they're winning, but it's just the feel good factor at the moment. So yeah, long may it continue. And you know, it's just wonderful to see so many fans happy because February, March, and April last year, just I know fans just couldn't wait for the season to end. And I was getting people messaging me saying, "Do you want a ticket for Saturday?" You know, and now you can't get one. You can't get one for love nor money. So yeah, it's let's just hope for a good few months ahead. And you know, 2 big games coming up. I mean, if Spurs wins Friday, then they've got over a week to prepare for Chelsea because that'll be a Monday Night Football again. And what an atmosphere that's going to be. Then I think it's Wolves, and then there's an international break. So if they can go into the next international break unbeaten at least, then we can start thinking. But for now, all Spurs fans just play it down at work because we know what's going on. It happened to me in the office today. Just keep playing it down, and we'll be fine. Just keep playing it down.
Or do what Becky and Janet are saying, can we or could we? Who knows? It might be a little bit early. We'll play it down a little bit till maybe after Christmas, and then we'll start shouting it about. But Michael, it's been amazing to have you on tonight. I really appreciate you coming on and giving your piece. I would say, where can everybody find you? But I'm pretty sure they'll be able to find you. But you can go ahead and say it anyway.
Well, probably a pub down the high road after Spurs keep winning at the moment, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I'm on Twitter. So if you ever want any questions, you know, please don't hesitate. And if you see me at the game, you know, people are very, very nice and talking to me about football. I've had a couple of tweets saying I'd walk past you. Please say hello. I don't bite, and I'm a big Spurs fan. So there we go. But yeah, so all positive from everyone.
No, I love it. But honestly, thank you again. Thank you to everybody that's watching now live, that's tuning in later. It's been a great episode tonight. Obviously, Hollie Hotspurs Live will be back next Monday because there's actually no football Monday. So we'll actually be able to talk about the Palace game with 3 other lovely guests. But yeah, let's keep riding this Ange train. And until next time, come on, you Spurs.